What's up guys, Sub-Zero here, back for not another VOD review. Today's video is actually going to be a meta review because if you're watching this video right now, that means set 17 is live across the world, and I know day one of a set can be very overwhelming. There's all these comps flying around, all this different tech and kind of stuff. Even if you played a lot of PvE, you still might not know the ins and outs of every single comp, and if you played zero PvE, hopefully this video can help give you an introduction to the comps. For the people who have played PvE, we can talk a little bit more in depth about things like itemization, augments, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to do as much as I can. Don't want to make this video a disgusting amount long. But before I get too far into it, there's two things I need to shout out. One is I am doing my subathon right now, starting today. If you're watching this video, I'm likely live. If not, I'll be live very, very soon, going live at 8 a.m. Pacific time and streaming until my eyes fall out. So go join the stream. I have a ton of fun goals planned that I've talked about. So really would appreciate it if you guys come, hung out. It's going to be a ton of fun. The other thing is this spreadsheet and this type of content. If you do like this type of stuff, I would go subscribe to my Metafy group tier, my Tactician University. I do these kind of videos almost for people, but they're actually interactive live sessions, group sessions, every single week on my Metafy group, the Tactician University. I do those every Thursday, and so if you're watching this on, the patch day on Wednesday, that means if you subscribe, you have the meta review, which I will likely do kind of like meta review, Q&A, maybe some VOD review on the Thursday after this. So a lot of really, really good stuff that you can get if you are subscribing to that. So I would do that. If you guys are interested in this kind of stuff, I will also have a link to the spreadsheet in the description down below so you can go check it out for yourself and look through it. But let's really just jump in. So holistically, this patch dropped yesterday. I think a very good patch, honestly. Hit a lot of the really, really egregiously strong stuff, buffed up some of the egregiously weak stuff, and so we're actually in a world where I think the meta is pretty balanced. The one S tier comp I do have here is Mighty Mech, and this is my prediction based on the fact that this comp was absolutely dominant through all of PvE, and they gave it a little nerf. They gave about a 6% nerf to Aurelion Sol's damage, which exists. It's a nerf, but I don't think is enough to make this comp, get knocked out of where it is. They also did nerf the anima items on Mighty Mech, which I think is a very good nerf to the kind of top tier, win out Mighty Mech situation. So it's definitely gonna be lower cap, but I would still say that this is the best comp in the game easily. So let's talk about this comp if you want to really jump into it. This is my team planner for this comp, and it might look a little overwhelming at the start here because there's a lot going on here, and obviously you're not supposed to be playing how many units is this? 15 units on your board every single game. But what you are going to play every single game is this combination of units: the Mighty Mech, the Urgot, and the Aurelion Sol. If you guys are not familiar with Mighty Mech, you get this Mighty Mech selector, you put it on the unit, and they take up 2 slots and also count for 2 mech. And so you can get 6 mecha in by mechaing all of these units and also take up 5 slots. What this means is you have 3 slots left over on your board. What do you do with those 3 slots? The answer is it depends. Akali Maokai, I would say, is the default 2-unit package that you would almost always prefer to have on your board. The reason for this is obviously you're playing a Marauder and a Brawler in Maokai and Akali and Urgot, so these traits link up very nicely. Getting Nova in provides you with spell crit, and the really big thing is the Maokai Nova effect, the heal 12% max HP, is really, really big on a unit like the Mighty Mech, who is this huge high HP unit. So this is, I would say, the default 2 units to play in, and then you can kind of dealer's choice play some other stuff. Thomas Kench is a really nice unit to play on these type of boards, if only because this comp is relatively contested, and on stage 4, if you're sitting on ASOL pair and Tom Kench does a spit, he's going to spit you out a 3rd ASOL and make your ASOL 2. That's how the way this unit works, is if you have pairs of 4-cross, he will prioritize printing them. So what you can usually do is play Tom Kench on your roll down on a 4-1 or 4-2, play him for 3 rounds, get a spit into a Mighty Mech or an ASOL 2, and then you're easily stabilized and you can drop out of this guy. The other pairs of units that are really nice to play: Karma Mordekaiser activates Channeler, Darkstar, and Voyager, which is really, really nice. So this is another 2-unit pair that I love playing on this board. Master Yi and Pike if you need another duo carry. This one, it's not my favorite because of the fact that you already have Urgot in an AD duo carry, but if you have something like a target lock on, you end up hitting a Master Yi 2 or something like that, you can slam that onto him, you can feel decent about that. You can actually play any of the psionic units, which is hilarious. Pike is Voyager, Gragas is Bruiser with Urgot, and then you also have Victor as Channeler, so you can really play any of these guys on that board. And then the other thing that you can play is like all the 5 costs in the game, low-key. I have most of them here. Honestly, you can even fit stuff like Graves and Vex on this board, even stuff like Sona as well, but, you know, there's only so much room that I have, and these 5 are the 5 that you're going to play most commonly. Bard is a fantastic duo carry on this board, activates Channeler for ASOL, which is really nice, and if you can reach Bard 2, he's an absolute monster. Fiora is a great, you know, duo carry with, you know, activating Marauder with the Urgot, so this is a really nice AD carry to play around. Shen, his effect is pretty solid on this board, does require you to clump. Shen, I would say, is actually one of the worst 5 costs on this board since his nerfs, but still a very solid unit. You know, you play a Maokai Akali Shen and feel very good about it. Morgana, another really good 5 cost, just getting damage reduction onto the entire board is very good. And then lastly, you have Jhin, who is, once again, another great 5 cost. Activates Starstar with stuff like Karma or Mordekaiser, so very easy to play him, and also his effect, his Eradicator effect, is just nice. It's just a nice thing to have on any kind of a board like this. So yeah, this is basically the ins and out of the board. As far as itemization goes, Mighty Mech, the highest priority item on this unit is Gargoyle. You always want a Gargoyle on this unit, and you essentially always want a Sterak's. These 2 items are super, super, super bis. The third item that you often see is Titan's Resolve. This item is not 100% necessary if you're actually in a low CC lobby. If you're in a lobby where, for example, there are a lot of other Mighty Mech players or other boards that just don't have a ton of CC, stuff like, you know, like a Meeple board, you know, like Rammus doesn't actually provide any CC, Corki doesn't CC, there's not a lot of CC on that board, then you don't actually have to go in other Titans. You can actually just go double Gargoyles on this guy. You can also even replace these with, you know, other tank items as well. But this is a safe default, especially if there are things like Nunus in your lobbies. Even stuff like Shen that's slowing down attack speed is kind of annoying, especially Nunu, and the other huge one is Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank CCing the Mighty Mech is horrible for you, so be careful about that. Aurelian Soul itemization, he loves Archangels, Gunblade, because he does provide himself a shield, and so if you can, oh, this is actually showing his other ability, not his fly around ability, but when he flies around, when he casts, he does provide himself a shield, and so Archangels is really nice to allow him to survive longer. Gunblade healing up the Mighty Mech is really, really nice. Really what you want on this guy is one source of AP, so that's either Archangels or Death Cap, and then extra items. You don't really need any kind of like mana gen on this guy. He's already a conduit, especially if, you know, you're fitting in the 2 conduit here. You don't have to worry too much about building like random blue buff or stuff on him. You just want damage. JG, even if you do have something like an Akalian, is not even that bad because, you know, precision gives you that extra 10% crit strike chance. And this also makes it easier to drop out of Akali late game and get into stuff like Fiora that caps really, really highly. So JG is not bad at all. Striker's Flail is not bad at all either because, once again, you're often either playing from this precision or from a JG, so you can feel pretty good about that. And the last thing that you can put on this guy is utility items, stuff like Void Staff and Morello. My only caution with these items is do not fall into the trap of your ASOL items looking something, you know, maybe like Guard Breaker as well, like this. This ASOL will not do any damage. He has no AP. His AP is, you know, a little bit from Morello, a little bit from Void Staff, you know, none from Striker's Flail. This ASOL will do no damage. Do not fall into the trap of building your ASOL like this. If you're going to do something like a Morello Void Staff, then I would at least finish it out with something like a Death Cap or an Archangel so that he has enough AP to actually do some damage. And honestly, I would live in a world where you do maybe something like this, you know, an Archangel's JG and then Morello here, and then throw the Void Staff onto the Karma. You can do that very easily. So that is Mighty Mech. Let's keep going because there's a lot to get through here. Next comp I would like to talk about is this Fateweaver reroll comp, and let me see if I can find it real quick. There it is. Boom. All right, Fateweaver reroll. So Fateweaver, there are a lot of different Fateweavers that, you know, exist in the game, and you should not play this in everyone. The big one to play this one is the Medallion. You get a ton of extra damage amp for free in the Medallion, so that's a very easy one to play it in. The Altar, I think, is not bad either. The Serpent, I've seen this played in, and I think it's totally fine as well. So those, I would say, are like kind of like A tier to the Medallion's S tier for this line. So definitely play it under those circumstances. The rest, I have not seen a ton. I've heard, you know, the Boar you can play it in. I've not seen it really pop off in the Boar or anything like that, but this is something that you can think about. What else about this comp? It's quite interesting. There are 5 1 costs in this comp that you can 3-star. Atrox, Poppy, Talon, Caitlyn, and Twisted Fate. And you could put items on any of them. Usually you end up either main carrying Twisted Fate or Caitlyn. Twisted Fate really, really likes Nashor's Tooth. Remember that Fate Weavers have innate spell crit. They have innate precision, so you do not need to build JG or IE on them for their spells to crit. But you can go something like a Nashor's Death Cap onto this Twisted Fate and be very, very happy about it. And then Caitlyn, she likes extra attack speed, because the way her ability works is she does not have a spell. Her attacks just have a % chance to fire a big headshot. So stuff like Gwinsu's, Deathblade really good on her, GS quite good on her. You can even, once again, because she has that innate spell crit, go stuff like Guardbreaker and feel decent about it. But, you know, this is something that I would look at. Even stuff like Kraken. The only downside to Kraken is she has a very low base attack speed. So she's going to stack this up pretty slowly, but if you have a big enough front line, this can even be done in a pinch. So these guys are pretty good. Talon is another unit that you can carry. He is this kind of weird damage over time, physical damage assassin. Oftentimes, I think his Biss is just a TG. I think he's a great holder of stuff like TG, but you can, if you do end up in a spot where you have stuff like, you know, Shojin, you can throw it onto him, Deathblade onto him. He does have that rogue effect where he can drop aggro, so you don't have to worry too much about his survivability. I would just build him full damage. And I do think he's a great early, like, stage 2 item holder. This guy, if you have enough front line, can blow through the board. Now your tanks, Aatrox and Poppy. They're fine, and you should go for them 3-star because it's extra frontline, especially if you have something like the Medallion. But the true tank in this comp is neither of them. The true tank in this comp is Jax. If you can reach a Jax 3, your frontline will be indestructible. BIS Jax is Gargoyle, weirdly enough, Crown Guard, Protector's Vow. The idea is this Jax unit, kind of similar to Leona from last set, has base damage reduction. You can see enter defensive stance for 3 seconds, reducing incoming damage by 15, 25, 30. Flat damage reduction. What this means is he really likes the resists of the Gargoyle, even though he's already a Bastion, because that can help scale up that flat reduction even further and get him to a point where he's essentially taking no damage. That's also why he really likes Crown Guard, to give him this extra AP to play with, this extra shielding to play with, to make him just this kind of like infinitely tanky Jax. Protector's Vow in a similar way gets him casting, gets him the Armor Mar that he likes, and, you know, puts him in a space where he can cast, get that flat DR, and become just insanely tanky. So this is really nice on him. He doesn't actually care for HP that much, because once, again, he gets that flat DR and then a shield as well. So really, you're just trying to make this Jax basically indestructible in his cast with stuff like Armor Namar and AP. You don't really need HP. You don't really need healing on him that much. You just need this stuff on him. So this is really nice. The last thing about this comp that's kind of strange is that you can see this board fits really well. Here's the problem. This is a level 9 board, and you usually don't play 1-cost reroll and then reach level 9. It's kind of difficult. You know, maybe you have some econ augments, maybe you get there. I mean, that's the dream, and this board fits perfectly if you do reach there. If you aren't reaching level 9, you can drop out of some stuff. If you're in a world where you're in the Medallion and you're hitting these guys, then obviously you're going to play all of your 3-star units, so these guys must always be played. You can easily drop just, you know, like the Milio here and just play this core here, play 3 Fateweaver. I know it feels bad, but you are, you know, still getting Meeple in, which is just an easy fit on this board with Poppy, Rammus, Corki, still getting in the 4 Bastion for really good frontline and feel good about it, and then add the Milio later. You can theoretically cut Talon, but then you're losing Stargazer, and so you're usually not going to do this, just because oftentimes you're playing this comp because you have a good Stargazer. But if you don't care about your Stargazer for some reason, if you are in the mountain, you can actually then cut out of Talon and play Milio. I don't love this comp that much on the mountain, but it is a little tech that you can do where once you get the extra emblem, then okay, boom, I just play this and then I don't worry about the Talon. So that's something that you can do as well. This is one of the premier 1-cost reroll lines. There's a lot of other 1-cost reroll lines in here. I don't want to spend the whole video going over 1-cost, and I'm already 13 minutes in, so I don't want to do all of that. So I'm going to jump into some other lines here. But Teemo reroll, Ezreal reroll, I think are both fantastic. You can look at the team planners, the itemization here. I do have some kind of limited notes on like portals and stuff like this, augments and stuff like this. So I think that's a little bit helpful. But you know, it's really something that I've worked on over PBE. It's by no means absolutely complete. It doesn't have every single augment or condition or anything like that in there. Let's talk about another comp. Let's talk about Rogues. So Rogues is one of these 3-cost reroll lines. 3-cost reroll was incredibly dominant on PBE and then kind of started to fall off because they nerfed 3-cost odds a bit, but it's still very good. And I think this is the premier 3-cost reroll line that exists in the meta right now. As you can see, this board is very pretty on level 7, fits a ton of traits in here. You get the Rogue in, you get the Meeple in, you get the Voyager in. I mean, it's just a very nice board on level 7. So this is basically always your board on 7 here. And it is a Fizz Kaisa duo carry. This is why TFT Academy calls it Kiz, which is like, I don't know. I mean, it's a kind of funny name. As far as itemization goes in this comp, you do really want stuff like JG Nashers onto Fizz. The reason why is Fizz is actually a 3-cast unit. Once he gets to his 3rd cast, he summons the Shark, you know, like his ult from League that pops up, does actually a little bit of a knock-up and a bunch of damage. So you want to get this guy casting a lot. He is also very low mana. You can see 20 mana there means with JG Nashers, this guy is boom, 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 cast, and getting to his 3 casts very, very quickly. I like finishing this off with a Hodge here, and just having a very, very nice crit build. This is what I like onto Fizz, and he does very, very well with this. Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa is this weird AD caster that actually gains mana on takedown, so you can theoretically go no mana on her. That being said, the stats do really, really like blue buff onto Kai'Sa, and so something like this I think is really, really nice on Kai'Sa. IE is actually, yeah, I would say this is kind of like the default Kai'Sa build here, is just get her casting at least, you know, the first time with the blue buff, and then maybe she can start getting some resets, get these big beefy casts though, and kill just the entire board here. So these guys are your duo carries. They work together really, really nicely. The board's very, very easy to play. I will say, really, 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 when you are playing this board, you love having something like a Timebreaker opener here, because it can grant you the free rerolls on level 7. The base way that I would play this line is play Timebreaker, play Primordian as well as your openers. Use these guys to generate a lot of extra econ, and don't worry too much about lost streaking early. Be totally fine about lost streaking. Very often this will just be your level 5 Briar, Rek'Sai, Bel'Veth, Melio, Ezreal, or even just you know, even better is if you find the Pantheon here and you can get Bruiser in on this board. But, you know, very often you will play this as your early game board, make a bunch of gold, lose streak, and then 3-5, go level 7, roll down for Fizz 2, Kai'Sa 2, and a lot of this other stuff, stabilize really hard, and then win from there. So that's the idea behind the board. Very, very simple to play, very, very strong, and I think with some of the nerfs to Victor, this is going to be the premier 3-cost reroll line that exists out there. All right, let's continue going down the tier list for some other A-tier comps. I want to talk a bit about Karma Leblanc. Is this my, yes, this is my Karma Leblanc team planner, because I expect this to be a very, very solid AP line. Got nerfed a little bit here and there on PBE, but it's still very, very good, and the traits are just very, very pretty. You can easily fit all of this different stuff, Conduit, Shepherd, 4 Vanguard, and 3 Arbiter, 2 Voyager on level 8 with this board. You can play this a couple of different ways. You can play this either from an Arbiter effect that grants you Leonas, and then basically spawn in a Leona 3 and tempo that, and then push 9 off that, which is really, really nice. Or you can take one of these damage Arbiter effects for LeBlanc. Either the one that says every X autos, it's like every 3 autos get some AP, or the other one is every 10 instances of damage get some AP, or attack speed. AP is the one I tend to like because it synergizes well with Guinsoo's. But either one of those do fantastically on this unit, because if you guys haven't played around LeBlanc at all, she summons 5 clones. So every auto when she is casting is actually 6 instances of damage. That means every 2 autos on that other one that's 10 instances of damage, you are gaining extra AP, extra attack speed, which is really, really nice. Speaking of AP attack speed, she is this just AP attack speed carry. Stuff like Guinsoo's Rageblade, really, really nice on her. She doesn't mind having some extra AP with something like a Death Cap. Gunblade makes a lot of sense as well, with a lot of these scaling Arbiter effects as well. So something like this is really, really nice on LeBlanc. Just get her auto attacking a lot, get her casting, and then just blowing people up. She really hates stuff like Chojin because she is mana locked for so long. So you would much prefer attack speed onto her. Karma is the duo carry on this board, but she's also not the duo carry on this board because this unit is not a great carry. You can throw damage items onto her if you must, but much better is Karma a holder of stuff like Void Staff, like Morello's. This is what I would say is like my ideal Karma setup, is just throw your utility items onto her. She does hit multiple targets with her ability, so she's okay with stuff like the Morello and the Void Staff, but you can feel pretty good about, you know, playing around Karma with these type of utility items, and if you must, throwing the damage items onto her. She does pretty well with that kind of stuff. So this, along with Mighty Mech, I think is going to be a quite dominant 4-cost line. I don't have that much time to talk about it, but another 4-cost line that I do think is going to be quite solid is this Corki Riven setup here. Fits very, very easily. You can play 5 Meeple and then flex in one of these pairs. You can either play Ezreal Gnar or Mighty Mech Meepsy here. I like Mighty Mech Meepsy here, but, you know, Ezreal Gnar, at least, you know, it's kind of funny that it gets you Sniper in. But normally you're just playing around this core of units: Rammus, Riven, Fizz, Poppy, Corki, Milio. They fit very nicely. You can duo carry Corki and Riven. Have a great time of it. With some of the nerfs to other comps, I think this comp can really you know, start to pop off here. I don't have time to go over it all in depth, but you can check out the spreadsheet for itemization and stuff like that, because the last thing I want to go over is a fast 9 comp. You know, I'm giving you a little bit of a sampler platter, right? A 1-cost reroll comp, a 3-cost comp, some 4-cost comps, and a fast 9 comp. And the fast 9 comp I have here, I do have it in A tier, but it's not because it's bad. This comp will win lots of games. The problem is fast 9, in my opinion, is not that broken this set, but if you do reach this kind of board, you will have very, very good odds of winning the lobby. So this is a fast 9 Vex Bard duo carried the board. Once again, you can see the traits are just beautiful on this board. Very, very easy to fit all this different stuff in here. You fit Darkstar, you fit Voyager in, you fit Meeple in, you fit Bastion and Conduit. I mean, just everything goes on this board. But this is well and truly a Vex primary carry board. Vex, very similar to Leblanc, actually likes items like this. So you can feel very, very happy about putting this onto Vex. Vex is not actually one to AP because she is a Doomer, the Demacian Raptor trait. The way that Doomer works is she steals AD and AP from units that are marked with Doom, which all enemies are marked with Doom. This means she gets a lot of AD and AP for free, which means stuff like Deathcap is just not that useful on her. Stuff like Archangel as well, not that useful on her because she's already got all the AP that she needs from her trait. So this type of build, really, really nice. Just get her auto attacking, popping off, doing a ton of damage. You can even also, she doesn't care about AP, but you can do stuff like JG Guardbreaker here and then use that AP and put it to a very, very good home in the spell crit. So this is something you can do as well. Vex can just absolutely shred entire boards. The way that her shadow strikes a secondary unit can oftentimes snipe backline if you put her same side as the enemy carry. So think about positioning her like that. She is just an absolute monster. So play around this Vex unit if you can reach level 9. Bard is a nice duo carry on this board. He does just like AP caster style item stuff like blue buff onto him. Archangel, you know, not bad. Deathcap, JG, all this kind of stuff. You just get him casting and get him doing damage, and he will do a great job for you on this board. He's got 2 conduit in this board. He's pretty solid. Shen is just utility on this board. Do not try to itemize this guy with damage items. Blitzcrank, he's utility. He can also be damage. He does actually do a lot of damage if you do get just kind of like AP items onto him. You know, if you end up in a situation where maybe you hit a Blitzcrank 2 before a Bard 2, do not be afraid of doing something like this and just having this Blitzcrank pop off. He will do a lot of damage as well, so you can play for him. And worst case, you can also duo carry the Karma if you must on this board. So another thing that you can play for. But once again, the main fear about Fast 9 this set is you need to hit some kind of 2-star 4-cost frontline because Shen and Blitz are not frontliners. Blitz is not a frontliner at all. He is straight up a damage dealer. No part of his ability says this guy gets tankier. And Shen provides himself a little shield when he casts, but it's really not enough for this guy to be your main tank. And he is also not a tank unit. He is a magic fighter, which means if he is in this situation where there's a Shen and a Blitzcrank here and it's 50-50 who to aggro onto, they will just aggro onto the closer unit, which ends up being Blitzcrank here. Not the same as, you know, Rammus, which will like eat aggro from a corner unit here because he is a true tank. So this means that you want to reach these tanks on level 8, usually before pushing level 9, because if you don't, you can end up in a situation where, wait a minute, you know, there's 2 or 3 mech players. The mechs are all out. There's, you know, a Rammus Corki player and a Meeple player. The Rammuses are out. I can't actually hit my units anymore. So be very careful about Fast 9 this set. Only do it when you're in a very, very confident spot with a ton of gold and the ability to roll and actually hit these 2-star frontliners, because if you reach 9 and you don't have Mech 2 or Rammus 2 on this board, you're just not going to have enough frontline to be happy. One thing that I do actually like is doing something like playing around this style board and then just transitioning this into a Fast 9 board. So say I'm playing this board for a little while. I don't care about the Arbiter anymore. So, you know, I cut Zoe for Bard and then I end up getting Vex in on this board on 9. And then just very naturally, boop, 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 move the items over to Vex, move the items over to Bard. And then all of a sudden, wow, that's my board here. And I can be very happy with this. You can even, you know, end up cutting Leblanc here for something like Sona that gets Shepherd back in and gets you a better effect here, and just say, who cares about Arbiter if I'm not, you know, playing for, you know, a true, you know, if I'm a damage dealer Arbiter and something like this. And then at that point, you'll usually have already 2-starred the Nunu or 3-starred the Leona. So this is a really, really easy way to get into these Fast 9 boards when you already have a front line, which, like I said, is just so important in these style setups. All right, there is a million other comps I want to go over, but I don't want to make this video super, super long. So once again, I'll have the spreadsheet down there. Once again, if you guys are interested in my TAC University, I will go over a ton more comps there. Also, just talk about generally how the meta is developing after the first couple of days. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys have a fun first day of the set. I hope you guys are looking forward to playing set 17. I'm jealous of you guys because if you're watching this video right now, then set 17 is out. And I am sitting here. I got to go to sleep. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep. Hopefully I can, but I got to go to sleep and then wake up tomorrow, and then I'll be able to play set 17 with all of you. So I'm so excited to grind it out. So excited for my subathon. So excited for Box Box Boot Camp, which I'm in this set as well. I am just looking forward to it all. Thankful for you guys for watching my videos and all this kind of stuff, for putting me in the position where I can do this full time as my job, do stuff like the subathon and the Metafy. I mean, that is the stuff that is going to pay my bills. So, you know, I'm thankful. A little nervous because, you know, it's obviously a big jump, but I think it'll all be fine, and I'm really just looking forward to queuing it up tomorrow and playing some TFT. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my Twitch, where I will be doing my subathon, my Metafy, where I do have Tacticians University, and also like this video. If you guys enjoyed it, I say like, but I feel like it doesn't register with the brain. Like the video, it helps a lot, especially for someone like me who, you know, this is my job. A little like, that's absolutely free. If you don't want to, you know, donate or anything like that, a like is free. So do that if you want to. All right, see you guys later for the subathon, or if I don't catch you there in my next video. Thanks for watching, as always. Bye-bye.